So there has been a sharp rise in cyber attacks, and it's prompting federal, state, and even local officials to take action to stop hackers from causing any more disruption.
We have to do much more to guard against these cyber attacks. So we got to figure out a way, a better encryption way that the military, our experts in the government can help private industry. We need to help private industry much more.
Senator Schumer there talking about this very issue. So these types of attacks can cripple our infrastructure, which hackers have already tried to do with the MTA. So let's talk to former New York State Senator Michael Balboni, who currently sits on the Board of Trustees for the New York Power Authority. Michael, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Let's dive into the cyber attacks because they can be pretty scary and hitting a lot closer to home for us here in New York. Earlier this week, we learned about the MTA's breach. Talk to us about the difference between the operational breach and the organizational breach and what this means for the MTA.
So when you talk about the technological aspects of this, you have the operational technology, which is basically how trains run, how you do spillways on dams, and how you keep the power on. But then there's the informational technology, what they call the IT, which we're all familiar with. That's our computers. That's how things work. Well, apparently, with the information we have now in terms of the MTA, there was never this crossover to the operational technology, that it stayed with the informational technology. Now, it's still a problem, but nonetheless, it didn't impact any type of operations. Not true with the Colonial Pipeline attack. That actually did cross over into the operational technology and cause a disruption in 7 states, and obviously very, very concerning when you talked to JBS and their meat production. So what's happening now is, as you mentioned, there has been this increasing number of attacks, and it's been focused on critical infrastructure as opposed to just targeting business for what they call digital extortion.
So it's almost like hackers are getting even more bold, right? Instead of just extortion, they're trying to shut down systems that affect all of us, which we saw with the Colonial Pipeline. And then we also learned with the Colonial Pipeline that they paid $4.4 million to those hackers. Now, I think when people hear that and they see that, it's kind of alarming that these companies are having to pay hackers just to get their operations back and running. So essentially, the hackers won.
Right. So you're absolutely right. So 2 points there. One is you're absolutely right. This is becoming much, much more common because if you go on the dark net, you actually can get a hacking or malware as a service. And so therefore, that means that anybody has the potential to be able to launch attacks. But the second piece, as you talked about, is, ransomware is just one form of attack. That's basically where you go in and you encrypt the information that the company needs or the operation needs, and then you delete the backups. And then you say, all right, pay me in Bitcoin, which of course is very difficult to track. And this has been seen by a lot of companies across the United States, across the world. And a lot of companies, the problem, so says the FBI, is that people pay the ransom.
Yeah,
and a lot of companies take a look at it as cost of doing business. That's coming back to bite us as a nation, because of these attacks on the critical infrastructure.
Because it's almost like, hey, let's go hit the U.S., they'll pay us, and then there you go. But, let's bring this back closer to home here. Hackers could bring New York City, in fact, to a grinding halt. So what are some of our most vulnerable targets that hackers may have their eye on?
Sure. Well, we have had concerns about the energy grid, generally speaking. A couple of years ago, there's actually reports and intelligence that said that malware had been inserted into certain networks and enterprises. I'll tell you that I do not see any immediate threat, certainly to the Power Authority. Everything's good there. But when you take a look at other operational technologies, that you have everything from transportation to healthcare, there is an impact potentially, which is why yesterday's announcement by the Justice Department, the U.S. Justice Department, they are raising cyber attacks to the level of terrorism. Now, hopefully that, as Senator Schumer said correctly, is that this is going to hopefully be a start of putting resources towards this effort. And then of course, the White House saying, companies need to do more. Companies will respond by saying, hey, wait a minute. This should be a collective defense. It can't just be about a chemical plant in New Jersey having to ward off a global attack. It should be something that we work with intelligence agencies. And then, again, it's Senator Schumer said,
some kind of system put in place.
Individuals.
All right, Michael Balboni, I could talk to you so much more about this. We're simply out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.